Welcome, everybody, to the 15th annual conference of the International Sustainable Campus Network. Today is the second day of this year's online meeting. We are very excited to introduce you to this webinar entitled Accelerating Sustainability in a Higher Education, Perspectives and Experiences from Latin American Universities. This session is the product of a collective effort between Iscn and the Latin American Chapter Steering Committee members. The Iscn Latin American Chapter is a legacy outcome of the 2019 Sao Paulo Iscn conference. It aims to provide a common national Latin American structure to support leading colleges and universities in exchanging information, ideas, and best practices towards sustainable campus operation, the integration of sustainability in research programs, and the engagement of local communities. The Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México is currently hosting the Iscn LATAM Secretariat and will focus on regional outreach and related events in the time ahead. We hope this session will help generate participation and ideas for the Iscn LATAM chapter. So please expect to receive in the next few days more announcements about upcoming workshops, the launch of a dedicated website, and other initiatives to enhance the regional network and engage more institutions with the Iscn. Before leaving the microphone and the camera to our panelists, let me briefly introduce myself. I am Simone Baratti, and I am the recently appointed coordinator of this regional chapter. I am a PhD candidate in sustainability science here at UNAM University, and have a background in both information technology and social history. In the last 12 years, I specialize in connecting the academic and civic sectors with work experiences in Mexico, India, Japan, the US, Canada, among others. And I am very excited to collaborate with the Latin American chapter, and I can wait to help disseminate the valuable initiatives of the Iscn members. So without waiting any longer, please let me present the format of today's session. The structure is threefold. In the first part, 3 interventions will frame the regional challenges and opportunities, the work to date of the chapter, and the opportunities to connect with Iscn members globally. Every panelist will introduce him or herself. The second part will showcase some sustainability initiatives in different Latin American universities and discuss prospects for further collaboration. And lastly, the third part will be open to a questions and answers session, followed by the closing remarks. I now leave floor to Leticia of UNAM University. Thank you.
Sorry. Hello, everybody. Very happy to be part of this meeting. My name is Leticia Merino. I'm an anthropologist, a cultural anthropologist and social scientist. And currently I am coordinator of sustainability of UNAM, and also I'm a tenured professor of environmental politics here at UNAM. So let me frame some of the challenges and opportunities of Latin America. I think every world region it's exceptional in its own. And let me frame the context of Latin America, in which Latin American universities are committed to build sustainability in their campuses and in their contribute to sustainability in the region. So please the next. So Latin America, it's very rich in natural resources. And what does it mean in terms of development and sustainable development? Is it a resource curse that very often occurs, that rich natural resources leads to elite capture, leads to the enrichment of very few, and marginality and poverty of very many? Or is it an asset, is it a resource for the region's sustainability and well-being? I think we should underline the possibility of natural resources being an important endowment for sustainable development. With relatively few population, relatively I would say, only 8% of the global population lives in Latin America, and the region has 16% of the terrestrial extension of the world. but it hosts 40% of the global terrestrial biodiversity, 6 of the top 15 biodiverse countries, mega biodiverse countries in the world. Latin America also hosts the largest watershed, very important, with the highest biodiversity, the Amazon forest. It has 22% of the remaining natural forest of the earth and 33% of the water of the world. The per capita water availability is double than the world's average. And it has also some of the richest mineral deposit, perhaps as much as Australia in per capita terms, 63% of the lithium, almost 40% of the copper, and 30% of the silver and nickel. So it's indeed very, very important. Next. In social terms, I believe, I have researched that there are also opportunity. There are commons defined as resources used, managed, governed commonly that for a sustainable use need coordination and cooperation, what's called collective action. So there are water bodies, there are watersheds, there's biodiversity that are critical for the common future of the world. There are also strong traditions, mainly among indigenous people, of commons management, of natural commons management, also among Afro-descendant and local communities. 50 million indigenous people speaking 40 languages. This is a very huge, a very important cultural diversity. And as the IPBES last report showed, cultural diversity and biodiversity go much are very much together. They interlink in historical development, but 60% of the languages are in risk of disappearance. Latin America is the world region with the largest share of community-owned land. So this should be also an asset, important assets for sustainable development. Next, please. Challenges. Latin America has the largest colonial history in the world with massive demographic and cultural disaster. It is assessed that within the 200 years after the conquest of the region, 90%, as much as 90% of the native population disappeared. A similar thing happened in North America. There's a long tradition of authoritarian governments, or democracies are young and fragile. 30% of Latin America live in poverty. These are numbers before the pandemic that hit the region very hard. 10%, this is 20 million people live in extreme poverty. Inequality lowered in the beginning, the first decade, the first years of the century, but this tendency has stopped. 40% of the working population and almost 50% of the women earn only a minimum salary. 18 million, as much as 18 million suffer from chronic hunger. 80% of the population live in cities. Latin America is the most urbanized region in the world, but most of the population live in large cities and in conditions of precarity with lack of public services, access to public services such as water, sewage, education, and work, employment. 90% of the population do not have access to drinking water, and 50% lack access to sewage systems. Next, please. So it's the most unequal regions in the world. It's also very unequal in terms of land access to land. As a result of the intense global demand of minerals, energy, and agricultural products related mainly with the increase of the growth of Chinese economy, Latin America economies has turned to extractivism to respond, in order to respond to this global demand. And most of the minerals are exported as raw materials. This means that there's little employment created by extractive industries, minerals and oil. There are no qualified increase of qualified jobs in extractive economies. Because of this orientation of Latin American economies in terms of agriculture, I mean, this has turned very much towards export or export oriented agriculture. Many countries, most of the countries, has lost the capacity of food sufficiency of production of enough food to supply their own needs. Okay, next please. As a result of this turn to extractivism, which also increases inequality and deprivation, Latin America is the world region with the largest number of environmental conflicts. Next, please. And in terms of climate, I mean, the region, the contribution of the region in terms of global emissions is relatively low, 11%, but most of the emissions come from deforestation. Deforestation, it's a very strong process and a huge problem in many regions of Latin America, in Mexico, in Central America, in the Amazon basin, and so on. As a result, there are high rates of species extinction, and Latin American economies have always been, but even more now, largely dependent on the extraction of natural resources. And environmental deterioration had increasing impacts on public health and increasing contribution to climate change. Please, the next. So I would say that in this complex context, universities have to play and can play very important roles in terms of building sustainable development, options for sustainable development based in the development of what's called economies of knowledge. I mean, to turn at least gradually from extractive industries to more knowledge-oriented industries, as some countries in Southeast Asia and Southeast Asia, Korea, Bangladesh, India have done in recent years. So universities are key for more dignified societies, for more sustainable and knowledge-oriented economies. So I think we have huge responsibilities. It's also to be said that in such an unequal context, such unequal societies, education, it's a very important stream, a very important way to overcome inequalities and build better societies. And in this respect, universities are strategic institutions. So thank you very much, and thank you for being part of this panel and this important network. So I give voice to Emilio.
Thank you, Leticia. Good morning to everyone, or good afternoon to others. I am Emilio Latorre. I am the director of the Office of Sustainability in Universidad Católica here in Cali, Colombia. I want to start by thanking Iscn, Victoria Smith and Melissa Brown Goodall, because it's because of them that 4 years ago I knew Iscn and I started to get interested in this fabulous network that has given to me and to the universities in Cali so many things. So I am going to speak to you about how this network in Latin America started. It's a network under construction, and I am going to tell you a little story. It all started in June 2011 in Sao Paulo, when we had the annual conference in this city. And next, please. And it was a lunch at this meeting, and we sat down in a table, mostly all the people from Latin America, and we started to talk about why don't we do a chapter in Iscn with the people of the Latin American universities. And so the idea started to grow. And at the end of the lunch, we wrote a little piece of paper that we are going to show you, saying that we wanted to be a part of this idea of a new network. Then we started thinking about how to build this network. Next, please. So we started doing conversations, and during the Sao Paulo meeting, we had the chance to start knowing each other, and we discussed about the possibility of doing a seminar here in Cali with the help of Iscn, the universities of Yale, MIT, British Columbia, and other universities. So next, please. This is a photograph of our meeting and the people from Latin America in Sao Paulo. Yes, next, please. And then we came to this seminar in Cali in 2011. This seminar was very interesting because in this seminar, we continued speaking about this network and how to build this network. Next, please. More photographs of this event in Cali. It was an event in which about 15 universities from the region, with the help of MIT, with the help of Yale, with the help of the Pontificia Catholica del Peru, and also with the help of Iscn, we started talking about Cali and how in this city we could develop some things connected with Iscn. Next, please. So afterwards, we started formalizing the idea of this Latin American chapter, and we built a steering committee with these universities that you can see there, the University of Sao Paulo, Catholica, my university, Pontificia Universidad Católica, and especially UNAM, which started to be the secretariat of the Latin American chapter, with the help also of Yale, UBC, and the MIT. Next, please. So we did a survey, UNAM did this survey in April 2020. And this survey showed us the possibility and the interest of universities in getting together and build a Latin American chapter. Next, please. So this survey told us that there was 91% of interest in a regional sustainable forum, and 95% of the universities in the survey showed that they had an interest in being a part of this chapter. Next, please. We have a first virtual meeting with 81 participants in May of last year. And we presented this survey, and we started talking about this idea of the Latin American chapter. This was a very interesting meeting, a first big meeting of universities. Next, please. So in March of June 2022, this year, we started preparing this meeting with the people that are here today, and we wanted to share with you this experience and tell you that we are committed to build this Latin American chapter of Iscn, and we want many universities from the region to get involved. Next, please. What is the future of this Latin American chapter? Next, please. We want to have this mission to provide a regional forum to discuss common environmental problems and generate collaborative solutions and give support for higher education institutions of Latin America. Next, please. Our vision is to generate a shared future by means of a horizontal network of Latin American universities that can make use of knowledge, capacities, human and technological resources and infrastructure to build a sustainable future for the region. Next, please. What are the benefits of our regional chapter? According to the survey of 2021, learning and experiences exchange, supporting technical and academic learning between us, do build common projects, and a lot of synergies between us. Those are the main objectives. What are the plans for 2022? Formally launch the chapter, deliver a series of workshops this year that Simone may talk about them later, and start communicating and being engaged in common strategies. Next, please. So that is all for the moment. With this bird of Cali, which is a city which is known worldwide now because of its bird populations, it was a pleasure for me to be with you. And now I have the big pleasure to present the next speaker, Melissa Brown Goodall from the University of Pennsylvania. Thank you very much all.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Emilio. I hope everyone can hear me. Excellent, thanks, Simone. So as Emilio mentioned, I'm Melissa Brown Goodall. I am at the University of Pennsylvania, and previously I was at Yale University for about 20 years, 10 of which were in the sustainability office, where Julian Newman hired me. Julian Newman, who is also on this call and was also in many of those pictures. And while I was at Yale, I was lucky enough to take on a portfolio of projects that both connected our sustainability priorities to various academic disciplines and connected Yale's leadership to the world. While I was at Yale, Emilio and I became friends and started talking about some big ideas, along with some other colleagues. And the initial idea was he and I were just exchanging thoughts on his campus sustainability plan and mine, but then it started to grow, as Emilio mentioned, when we were in excuse me, when we were in Brazil. I will say my particular passion for this project, apart from the fact that Emilio is an extraordinary person to work with and is a never-ending source of extraordinary knowledge about birds. Apart from that, my passion is that I was actually, before I joined academia, I was with the United Nations Development Program with the Regional Bureau for Latin America and the Caribbean. So my own knowledge of climate action is actually deeply rooted in that particular region. My job for today is to talk about opportunities for ISCN LATAM to connect with ISCN members globally. So I'm really excited that what I talk about is really going to connect specifically to what Emilio and Leticia have already said. When I started thinking about this, I went and I'm a strategic planner in everything that I do. I just love having documents that set goals and aspirations. So I went to the ISCN priorities to really sort of look at the global scale of what has been set. So these are the priorities that are for any member of the ISCN, but enhance member value through robust exchange and engagement platforms. So here we are, super exciting. Elevate ISCN's presence with key peer networks, agencies, and funders. Well, here we are, again, super exciting. Mobilize the network around key themes and projects. Wow, this is really this is checking all of the boxes, which is just amazing to be able to work in this very specific way and meet all of these extraordinary and very important priorities. Evolve management and governance of the network to deliver on strategic priorities. And those two should be separate, but that's okay. Evolving the management and governance is happening at the network scale, but this chapter is also a sign of that, because what I'd love to have happen is that we do this in this context, and then we take it to our colleagues in Africa and see if we want to do something very specific there. Increase student involvement with the network. I'll get into a little bit of how we're doing that a little bit later. Enhance member engagement with the Global South. I would say that this checks that box for sure. And then ultimately diversify funding sources to enable programming. So hopefully once we've launched this chapter and have a really robust set of projects and activities, we'll be heading in this direction where we can really start to bring in additional funds to support more collaboration, etc. When I started thinking about the value of ISCN membership, now I was at Yale for 20 years, and now I've been at the University of Pennsylvania for just over a year. University of Pennsylvania was already a member, and I was very fortunate. My particular job is not in the sustainability office. I'm in the office of the provost, creating a program that connects teaching and research, but I work very closely with my colleagues in the sustainability office, and we've been brainstorming really what it is that makes this such a unique network. And the first one is connection. I'm going to give 5 overarching categories and then go into a little bit more information on them. The second one is inspiration. The third one is rationalization, and I'll show what that means in a moment. The fourth one that came to mind was certainly collaboration. There's so much to be gained through collaboration. And then finally, I have one that's a little bit of a secret. So the connection. For us, for those of us who are in sustainability or in climate action or in the job of trying to protect biodiversity or champion new ways to communicate about social justice, all the extremely important things that Leticia mentioned in her deck earlier, this connection is so important because it is so fantastic to be able to speak the same professional language. We spend so much of our time educating and convincing people that it is just really nice to have people who speak the same professional language. That's the first one, and this is a picture of the ISCN conference. I'm doing almost the same thing that Emilio did. This is the ISCN conference in Stockholm a few years ago. The second one is inspiration. So this is a picture of an art installation at the University of British Columbia where they put these decals on windows that were killing birds. And it is so great to see innovation in action. Every single time we visit a campus, we get to see a new approach, a new idea, a new way of doing things that we can then take to our home institution. And this particular one is one that I mention everywhere I go because it's just so beautiful. Emilio, I can send you the picture too. The third one is rationalization. So this is from the University of Edinburgh. All universities are thinking about the carbon guilt that goes along with academic travel and what to do because we can't not travel for academia. We can't not travel to meet. I want to meet with people here on person. There's a different dialogue that happens. We don't have to travel as much as we were before the pandemic, but it's so important. And when I say to my university administrators, hey, we should really be measuring this, we should be accounting for it, we should have transparency around it, and there's a business rationale for doing this. Going to the University of Edinburgh site and seeing how they've done such a remarkable job of tracking business travel and communicating to communities about how they might set targets and change things is a phenomenal way to convince my leadership. The fourth one is collaboration. Now, this is a map. This is the Global University Climate Forum. I started the Global University Climate Forum in 2009 as a part of the International Alliance of Research Universities. And then International Sustainable Campus Network became a strong partner in 2015 when we did an event in Paris. And we do this not for every single climate change negotiation, but we do it episodically because what happens is students from around the world arrive at the COP and they're really excited to be a part of history, and all it is a bunch of meetings. And that's not entirely true because there's side events and there's other things to do, but we wanted to make sure that if people are going to, if students in particular are going to travel all that way, that they're really there for a purpose, and to give students who've gotten there and don't have something meaningful to do a specific purpose. Well, we did this in 2009, we did it in 2012 at Rio Plus 20, we did it in 2015 in Paris, we were preparing to do it in 2020 when, of course, the COP was postponed. We took advantage of that to work with ISCN to come up with a new model that was largely online, and the online nature of this meant that we could really cast a very broad net. You can see we actually had close to 600 student teams in 44 countries. And you can see that little 60 there on Mexico. We had 60 teams in Mexico alone, which was just phenomenal. And the Mexico teams were extremely diligent about following through on their projects and reporting, etc. This was very much a collaboration between ISCN members. We had members from Asia, Australia, Latin America, Africa, you name it. we had members there, which was phenomenal. And we gained enough momentum so that our final publication, we had thanks to UNAM, we had our foreword written by Patricia Espinosa, who is the current Executive Secretary of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. And then we were able to work with another peer institution to get Cristiana Figueres, who was the architect of the Paris Climate Accord, to write our next steps, which was super energizing, and we are super excited. We're now running another iteration as we gear up for an event with ISCN in Egypt. We also were able to, thanks to support from University of Edinburgh, host a terrific online event. And if anyone is interested, I'm happy to share the links to either of these. The publication is an online publication so that it can be translated to any language at any time, and so that we can update it to reflect the new student projects that we're currently working on. And the event itself, of course, is online as well. The event featured people from Germany, from the United States, from Bulgaria, and from Ecuador. Okay, so then the last one, the secret one, the one that I didn't want to necessarily say was the top value is competition. And this is not universal, but it is sometimes easier for me to go to my leadership and say, hey, did you know that that other university over there is doing this really, really remarkable thing? And so my experience has been that, as we work together to address climate change and biodiversity loss, we have to do this urgently. We have to do it now, and we have to use every argument we can to convey the urgency of this to our decision makers. So sometimes collaboration is key, and sometimes competition helps. And I have found it's really fascinating to see what I can do with the competition that comes out of the ISCN. Again, not my top priority there, but it is useful to me. Okay, so then I know I'm down to time, so I want to just go through just briefly the ISCN Latin American chapter framework. So I talked briefly about this with Julie Newman and Victoria Smith. We were on a call for another reason. We were sort of thinking things through, and Julie, who's on the call as an audience member right now, sort of whiteboarded out something that I'm going to totally steal, I don't know, borrow, collaborate, however we're going to put it. But what we talked about is that there are these global reasons that make this particular network extremely valuable. The connections, the inspiration, the rationalization, the collaboration. And then there's the things that connect directly to what Leticia mentioned, which is so important. I was thrilled to hear what she was touching base on. But number one, if we go from this global scale and these sort of global level things, we can enhance access to resources, we can catalyze collaboration, and we can set those regional priorities that reflect the unique circumstance in Latin America. And then there's this local element to it. And Emilio touched on this, but I think he might have been a little bit too humble, because that event sparked a whole collaboration in Cali. And he acted as a conduit, bringing these global perspectives from Peru, from Boston, from all over the world to his city, which was amazing. And he offered support to his local partners. They've created a group, and now they're envisioning high impact activities in their particular place. So it's really an extraordinary way of seeing the connection of global to local. And it was, we all came away full of ideas and putting those ideas into action. Julie and I went along with colleagues from Peru. We communicated between universities. There were presentations. We connected with those professionals from the 15 universities. And it was just, we all learned so much. It was so inspirational. So going back to the value of ISCN membership, we had this connection, inspiration, rationalization, and collaboration all in this one event. And I feel like this is really embedded in the intent behind everything that Emilio has just mentioned. And I will just give some examples. So here's inspiration. We visited, thanks, Emilio. We visited several campuses while we were there. This is a picture of one particular campus has signage about the birds all over the campus. Another campus has signage about all the trees, over 100 trees are labeled on that one campus. Another one, there's somebody who goes out every single day. They filter their own water, and there's somebody who goes out every day. She showed us how she goes and she tests it every single day. The rationalization, this particular campus is a Franciscan campus. And so the entire campus is about animals, and it's about integrating biodiversity into the academic life as well as the operations. And then the collaboration. So visiting these universities, these universities had not really been talking to each other. They hadn't really sort of been, they knew kind of what everyone was doing, but really being able to sit down. This is the view from an open air cafeteria where you can see the photovoltaic panels right there on the campus for everyone to see, because that's how important it is on that particular campus to give up that square footage specifically to capture energy. And then I will say, this is a picture with Julie and Emilio and Jose and Hector, who you will hear from momentarily. You know, connecting with amazing friends who are ready to listen, learn, collaborate, and support was just a phenomenal learning experience for everyone involved. And the Latin American chapter is valuable for the universities and the region, but it also makes the Iscn a stronger and more versatile network. So I think there is extraordinary value in taking those priorities set at the institutional level, at the global level, bringing them down into the local level, and then translating it back up, because that we found that to be extraordinary. And I will stop my screen. And I will pass it back to Leticia.
Thank you very much, Melissa, and thank you very much, Emilio, for very important and thoughtful participation. I mean, thank you indeed. So we turn to the second part of this session. I mean, we will learn about key initiatives carried on in the campus of the members. So it's my pleasure to, I mean, I will present the three people, a part of myself, who will be taking part. We will have a pleasure to listen to Denise Croce from University of São Paulo, to Jose Camatsu, well, 4 people actually, and Hector Miranda from Pontificia Universidad del Perú. And again, we will listen to Emilio Latorre from Universidad Catholica Lumen Gentium, who we already know. So please, Denise, I mean, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Leticia. I am from the University of São Paulo. My name is Denise Espinosa. My email is on the last slide. So if you want to contact me for, thanks, for questions. I am an advisor at the Environmental Office at the University of São Paulo. And like personally or professionally, I do research on electronic waste and processing of low-grade ores and mining wastes. So I actually work a lot with solid wastes on my research professionally. I am going to present, next slide, please. Just present the University of São Paulo. It's just one slide for you to have an idea of the size of the university. So we are talking about 97,000 students and more than 5,000 professors at university. We have 8 campi in the state of São Paulo, and the biggest one is in the capital city of São Paulo. We do have like 340 undergraduate courses and 264 graduate courses. And one thing that's sometimes is different from other universities, we do have a vast area of ecological reserves. If you could, the next slide, please. I just brought some pictures of a few of the reserves. Most of them are in the countryside campuses, not in São Paulo, although the last picture on the bottom right side is within the city of São Paulo. So we do have a lot of green areas that have to be maintained or recovered in some places. And this is one of the biggest focus of the environmental office at the university, to take care of this ecological reserves and biodiversity that the university is hosting or responsible of. Next slide, please. This is a timeline of from the beginning, like the creation of the environmental office to today. So the environmental office was created in 2012. We just have 10 years this year. Sometimes it sounds like a lot of time, but with a university this size, sometimes it's difficult to manage and to reach everyone. So we were begin to work in 2012. In 2014, the environmental policy was begin to take place. We had several working groups and pilot projects to make this environmental policy grow. And finally, in 2018, it became a reality. So in 2019, we had we host the Iscn conference in Sao Paulo, which was, for us, it was great because we had this environmental policy just approved and we could host the conference. So we could like solidify the action of the environmental office. And in 2020, we had several ideas to make this environmental policy be a reality throughout all the campuses, which is a challenge, But then the pandemic arrived, so we had to regroup and rethink our strategies. And by the end of the 2020, we decided to launch 2 calls of project. The first one was related to mitigation and offsetting of greenhouse gas emissions. And we evaluate this project. This call of projects were not for individual researchers. It was like it was an institutional initiative. So we do have these 8 campuses. So the mayor of the campus could propose a project, or the director of the one unit, such as like the Polytechnic School is the engineering school, not one department or one researcher. It had to be bigger. And our first idea was with the greenhouse gas emissions. And I'll just talk about the projects on the next slide, but I'll just finish the timeline so I don't have to keep coming and going. In 2021, in the beginning of 2021, we released the second call for projects on the ecological reserves. And so it's a kind of different kind of project. So they were bigger projects. In 2022, that we are now, we are the universities create the Center of Innovation and Sustainability. Next slide. This is one of the examples of the project of the first call for projects. It's a biodigester that will treat the solid waste from the university restaurant and the daycare center that we have within the university. Next slide, please. This is one example of the 6 projects that we had on ecological reserves. You can see on the bottom picture that one of the topic of the projects, it had to have something to do with teaching and make these reserves available for the students in a controlled activities, but would be more available for them. And we had 6 projects with that idea, which was just great. So next slide. I just received the 1 minute left, so I have to be a little bit faster. And now this year we have the Center of Innovation and Sustainability. These are the main ideas of the center. Actually, I'll just like resume everything. The idea is to have a center to promote the interaction among university, government, and society, and also host projects, obviously on sustainability, but we have more multidisciplinary interaction. So sometimes it's difficult to host in just one place at university, one department. And sometimes these projects just don't come to life because they don't have a place to stay. So we are making this place. And also the center is hosting 26 projects based on the SDGs. And they are related to another project of the rectory that have other 11 projects related to the SDGs. They are being released today, actually. The call for projects and everything, they are being released today. And one of the ideas is to map what the university is doing. With the university this size, sometimes we have professors doing their work, their research, and the university itself doesn't know it. So we usually know when it goes to the press or it goes on TV, but sometimes we don't know. So we want to make it like a better view of the university and work with the future of sustainability for the University of São Paulo. We are very excited with this call for projects. From this year, we have a new rector that is very engaged with the SDGs and sustainability. And so this is coming to life from this year. Next slide, please. I know I was a little bit fast. I hope everybody could understand like the scope of what we are doing at the University of São Paulo. My name is Denise Espinosa, and that's my email. Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias, Denise. Okay. Buenos días, queridos amigos. Soy José Canematsu, director de infraestructura de la Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú. En esta ocasión quisiera presentarles las iniciativas que hemos venido desarrollando dentro de la universidad en temas medioambientales en favor de la sostenibilidad. La Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú se encuentra muy comprometida con el desarrollo sostenible del país y del mundo. Perdón. Ok. Bien, para lograr los objetivos sostenibles de la universidad se basa en las siguientes líneas de acción, la cual iré desarrollando conforme van pasando las diapositivas. La primera línea de acción y la más importante línea de acción es nuestro plan maestro, el cual propone una visión de crecimiento ordenado de la universidad, considerando la sostenibilidad y los más altos estándares de urbanismo, paisajismo, diseño energético y medioambiental. El plan estratégico de la universidad al 2030 contiene la construcción de edificios verdes. Es por ello que en el 2013 se inició la construcción de los 2 primeros edificios en el campus con certificación de construcción LEED. Hasta el día de hoy, la construcción de edificios verdes es parte de los lineamientos de construcción y ya hemos logrado la certificación de 8 edificios dentro de la universidad en categorías plata, oro y platino. La universidad tiene un enfoque sostenible integral del campus universitario. Por tal motivo, busca constantemente la eficiencia de recursos, tanto del recurso hídrico como el recurso energético. Para esto implementará una planta de tratamiento de aguas y tiene un plan de eficiencia energética para la reducción de su consumo eléctrico en todo el campus universitario. La siguiente línea de acción es la creación de laboratorios vivos dentro de la universidad, ya que a través de ellos promueve la interacción de la comunidad universitaria con el fin de educar y preparar a los estudiantes para que se conviertan en líderes de proyectos sostenibles y ciudadanos enfocados en favor del medio ambiente. La universidad ha implementado políticas de sostenibilidad social, ambiental y económica para el desarrollo de sus nuevos proyectos, desde el diseño, la construcción, el mantenimiento y la operación de sus edificios. Los diseñadores, los constructores y las empresas que participan en el proceso deben estar comprometidas con estas políticas. Otro componente importante es la interacción con nuestro país y la ciudad. La universidad participa y promueve iniciativas de apoyo social para mejorar las condiciones de vida de los ciudadanos en diversas partes del Perú. Acá tengo dos ejemplos en los cuales hemos podido ayudar a un distrito de Lima y un proyecto en la serranía peruana, ¿no? Otra línea de acción es incentivar a sus miembros de la comunidad universitaria a capacitarse en temas sostenibles. De esta manera, sensibilizar a toda la comunidad universitaria para lograr los objetivos de consolidarnos como una universidad sostenible. Y por último, uno de nuestros últimos objetivos es promover con otras universidades de la región el cambio de ser universidades sostenibles, intercambiar experiencias y consolidarnos como una red de universidades sostenibles en Latinoamérica y en el mundo. Con esto concluimos nuestra presentación, agradeciendo al Iscn, ya que al ser parte de la red hemos logrado educarnos y consolidarnos con estas líneas de acción, los cuales están siendo implementadas dentro de la universidad. Paso seguido, doy paso a Héctor.
Muchas gracias, José. Thank you very much. Well, as all we know, 40% of the CO2 emissions comes from the built environment. The vision of sustainable city must take shape within a sustainable university campus. As a sustainable development consultant focused on green construction, my participation in the transformation of the PUC campus began with the LEED certification of the two most iconic buildings on campus and continues currently in the improvement of existing buildings, also with LEED certification as a transformation tool. Focusing on the best strategies to mitigate climate change contribute that PUC campus being recognized as the first sustainable campus in Peru. And here I tell you the story.
Generativa, impulsando el desarrollo de campus universitario sostenible. En el Congreso de Brasil 2019 Sao Paulo, el Iscn invitó a Regenerativa a exponer sobre el Plan Maestro Sostenible de los campus universitarios. Gracias a esta gestión, el Iscn reconoció a la Universidad Pontificia Católica del Perú como primer campus universitario sostenible del Perú.
Iscn. I'm the interim executive director, and I would like to extend my very warmest congratulations to PUC's University in Peru. Hector and Jose, the very first sustainable university in Peru is
Esto fue lo que se vivió en la ceremonia de velación de placas LEED en el primer campus universitario sostenible del Perú. En la ceremonia se contó con grandes autoridades como el embajador del Iscn en Perú y gerente general de la empresa Regenerativa, consultor de la sostenibilidad, el señor Héctor Miranda. También el rector de la Universidad Católica del Perú, el doctor Efraín González de Olarte.
Es decir, la universidad, en primer lugar, sentía que tenía que proyectar un modelo de universidad, un modelo de campus universitario que sirviera también como ejemplo.
Y como invitada internacional, la directora del Desarrollo del Mercado Sostenible del USGBC, Liz Basset.
Having met the passionate faculty and student leaders here, I'm confident that PUC will continue to inspire others to follow their example.
En esta ocasión, se develaron las 3 placas de los últimos edificios certificados LEED. La representante del USGBC hizo entrega de los diplomas a las autoridades correspondientes. Se le entregó el diploma al vicerrector administrativo, el Dr. José Gallardo, por el complejo MacGregor, obteniendo la certificación LEED Plata. Para la Facultad de Derecho, se otorgó el diploma al decano Alfredo Villavicencio, obteniendo la certificación LEED Oro. Y para la Facultad de Arte y Diseño, se le otorgó el diploma a la doctora Verónica Kraus, obteniendo la certificación LEED Oro. Estos edificios se suman a otras construcciones previamente certificadas, como el aulario nivel oro y la biblioteca del CIA LEED nivel plata, así como el nuevo complejo PUC 2017, edificio en proceso de certificación.
Ahora sí quiero invitar al ingeniero José Kanematsu, quien está trayendo el reconocimiento directamente del último congreso celebrado la semana pasada en la ciudad de San Paulo, para que le entregue al señor rector el reconocimiento del primer campus sostenible.
Y para finalizar el evento, el ingeniero José Kanematsu entregó el reconocimiento del Iscn al rector de la PUC como primer campus universitario sostenible del Perú.
¿Qué mensaje le daría a las demás universidades que aún no son sostenibles?
La idea es dar un ejemplo a las universidades y que con los recursos que tengan lo hagan. Esa es la idea.
Este es el camino, somos universidades y somos el ejemplo de la sociedad. Y creo que cada vez podemos hacer que nuestras edificaciones sean más eficientes y que podamos rescatar en todos los temas energéticos, el agua, y que seamos un ejemplo a la sociedad y a la ciudadanía.
Estamos contentos de haber participado en la gestión integral hacia la sostenibilidad del primer campus universitario sostenible. Regenerativa, regenerando el mundo contigo.
Thank you very much, and give my word to Leticia.
Thank you very much, José. Muchas gracias. Héctor y José Luis, por la presentación. I'm sorry, I'm speaking in Spanish. No, I mean, I want to talk to, I mean, very happy to be listening to all this experience from the region. Let me talk on our coordination of sustainability. It's brand new in UNAM. I mean, we started working. This was 2019, and I only have 6 months working here. So in May, last May, a month ago or a little bit more, the rector of UNAM, Dr. Enrique Graue, finally published what we call the Integrated Plan for Sustainability of UNAM, which aims to be an instrument for long-term planning of sustainability of this university. That's large. Sometimes I feel it's too large. I mean, we are considering students, academics, and workers who are also part of our community. We are 450,000 people. So next one, please, Alexa. So I mean, our starting or entry point are that there's a very serious socio-environmental crisis. I mean, I was talking about Latin America, but in our country, in Mexico, and we need, I mean, the building of sustainability, it's an urgent need, and we need to build sustainability from interdisciplinary perspectives. Of course, myself, I'm a sociologist and an anthropologist working on environmental issues for long time, but also from a transdisciplinary practice. I mean, considering the point of views of different actors within our community and outside our community. And we are aiming to push for transformative changes, no slowly changes or periodical changes. I mean, we believe that we need radical changes. And again, we think that universities play a very critical role, and public universities, also private universities, but public universities, so we are funded by the public. We should be devoted to the public. I mean, we want to educate actors for change, to produce strategic knowledge, to push for sustainability. And I was very, very interested about the experience of Sao Paulo. I mean, so Sao Paulo producing energies from the waste of the university, bioenergy. And we also want to spread a culture of sustainability within Mexico, and particularly our capital city, Mexico City. UNAM has a national importance. I mean, it's the largest university, too large, as I said, within the country. And I mean, even if UNAM has done in the past years, I mean, as I said, the coordination of sustainability is new, but there are efforts of sustainability that have been carried on by different faculties, schools, in the fields of education, research, and campus management. But still, there are numerous areas of need, and there are numerous needs and numerous areas of opportunity for our work. The next one, please. So this is an image of how we view the building of sustainability within UNAM. I mean, this slide is not translated. We want to promote UNAM Sustentable, Sustainable UNAM, through mainstreaming the perspective of sustainability in teaching, research, and culture. We want to incorporate sustainability in the design and management of our campus. And we also we assume the responsibility to promote transitions towards sustainability outside the university, in our local context and in our national context. Next one, please. So the main area of work is to mainstream sustainability in, as I said, in education for sustainability at all levels and modes of education. We are building, we will start providing, how do you say, una materia, course on sustainability that will be part of the curriculum of all the undergraduate programs in UNAM. I mean, there are programs like biology or, well, basically, or ecology, which sustainability is already a main field of teaching and research. But we want this course to be, and this has been accepted by the university council, part of the curricula of all our undergraduate programs, a course on sustainability. We have also developed a massive online course on sustainability available to the university and to the public. And we are working together with the University of California on a massive online course on climate change, and particularly climate change in Latin America and Mexico. Well, the second one is to promote sustainability, the perspective of sustainability in research and innovation. Here we are working on a congress within UNAM on sustainability issues from interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary perspective. And we are also working on a journal in Spanish. I mean, we have made diagnosis where we find that most of our research on sustainability is published in English, and national societies and the Mexican public and Latin American public have relatively little access to this research. So even though, considering that the publication, the international publication, are very important for exchange, I mean, we believe it's very important also to publish in Spanish. So we are launching this review for the beginning of next year. And we're also working on a number of cultural activities on, like theater and museum exhibition on sustainability. Next one, please. Campus, which is it's closely related to the main theme of the Iscn. We are working in green areas. I don't have the numbers, but UNAM also has a huge area as a natural reserve. We want to have students engaged in restoration and protection of these areas that have been a bit neglected during the pandemic. We want to reduce, we're working on a plan to reduce energy consumption and increase the use of renewable energy. We are working on the efficiency of water use and water quality within the campus, not so much on treatment plants. There are in UNAM campus, main campus, there are 3 and only one of them works. We are working in humedales, I don't know how to translate, in smaller scale options in the faculties to treat water. We are working very hard in promoting efficient transport. Trying to close some of the avenues of the campus to the car circulation and have them for walking paths and cycling only. So we are working on that too. We are promoting sustainable consumption practices. We are starting what we call in Mexico a tianguis, like a farmer's market of markets of producers from the surroundings of Mexico City, what's called the conservation zone. Mexico City has a huge forest areas. So we will start in August with this market. We are also promoting within the offices of the universities a campaign on sustainable coffee consumption, and also working on waste management. And I would love to talk to Denise to learn from Sao Paulo and certainly from Cali and Universidad Católica. So next one, please. So we're very ambitious. And beyond the campus, we are, there are different colors here, but basically we have a seminar, a big seminar. We are producing podcasts on what we call the main social environmental problems of Mexico. We have already an audience of 10,000 people. We started only 3-4 months ago. And we're starting an initiative of environmental education in the forest communities in our vicinity, in the vicinity of Mexico City. So next one, please. So, and we think the strategies to implement all these actions that we are proposing and are part of UNAM's plan for sustainability that, as I said, have been recently endorsed by our rector. We consider that we need to have institutional support, and we have so far had institutional support. But for us, it's key to have alliances within the university and outside the university. So for us to achieve all the goals that all the activities that we are proposing in what we call the PISU, this integrated plan for sustainability, the alliance with ICCN, it's key. It's very, very important. And also, I think these changes, these actions should be based in the participation of different groups, particularly students and university workers, which are many at UNAM, and we have a number of initiatives and festivals. We have a big festival of what we call the Dia del Niño, the Children's Day on April, that was called a Festival for a Sustainable Future. With a lot of engagement from different institutes and faculties. Having workshops with kids, to make our campus an open campus, committed with the next generation. And we are having in August a festival for the Youth's Day. So, also trying to engage young people in the initiatives of sustainability, but also learning about all the initiatives and all the experiments and all the creations from young people, young students on sustainability. And we are doing the same with our workers, the gardeners, the people who take care of the cleaning of the cafeterias and so on, as we believe they are an integral part of our community. So the next one, please. So the next one is muchas gracias to listen to me. I'm very happy to work together and be part of this network. Thank you. And I give the word to my colleague, Emilio Latorre. Sorry, Emilio.
Thank you, Leticia. Hello again. I am Emilio Latorre, the director of the Office of Sustainability in Universidad Catholica Lumen Gentium here in Cali, Colombia. I am going to speak briefly about an experience that we have had in Cali about a network that we built after our meeting. Next, please. It is called the Red Universitaria de Campus Sostenible, RUCAS. RUCAS is an Indian word for little hut that comes from Chile. So when we did that word, we thought about this idea of a house that has a place for the people to be. Next, please. It all started in this meeting that I told you about, that Melissa also shared with us in 2011, when we did that meeting with the help of Iscn and with other universities on the region. Next, please. We, as I said before, in Sao Paulo had our first conversations about this Latin American network and the discussion of the possibility to do an international seminary in Cali that we did. Next, please. So we had this meeting. In Cali, we had 60 participants from many universities in Cali and in the region. So after this meeting, we started talking together about building a network. Next, please. And this was the photograph I showed you before of the meeting in Cali, where we have the people from MIT, Julie is there, Melissa, Hector and Jose, everybody is there. Next, please. And so we had this seminar in Cali. The idea was how to create a local network of sustainable campus in our city, and our rector in that meeting proposed to us that idea. And in the conferences that we had in that time in Cali, people like Melissa and Julie and Hector shared with us the experience of how to build a network. Next, please. So just 15 days after that meeting, we met in one of the universities in Cali, the 5th of December, and we had our first meeting of the network. Next, please. This was that same day, the creation of our network, which I told you it's called RUCAS. It's called RUCAS. What have we done in this network? Next, please. Next. We have had more than 20 meetings. Yesterday, we had a meeting, by the way. We don't have a big structure, pyramid structure. We just rotate the coordination of the meetings. We created a publication committee and we produced a first newsletter. And we have been discussing subjects like university carbon footprint. We did a guide for our universities to establish their carbon footprint Yesterday, for example, we spoke about how to collaborate in solid waste. By the way, for example, tomorrow I will go with the people from my university that take care of solid waste to another university that has more experience in this area, and they are going to share with us their experience in solid waste. And we also, during the pandemic, we continue meeting every first Tuesday of the month. We get together, and we have shared all other experiences. This network, as Melissa was saying, has been connection, inspiration, collaboration, and that's what we have doing, especially inspiration, because hearing what other universities are doing, we get inspired and we share these experiences. Next, please. This bulletin that we produced in Lucas was our first publication. We are going to publish also the guide for carbon footprint preparation, and we are going to produce another guide for waste management in the higher education organizations. Next, please. This was not our last meeting, our first to last meeting in April 2022 in my university. Yeah, next, please. So we have this network. It's open, it's not hierarchical, it's spontaneous, and it's inclusive. So, all the universities are welcome. We now have more than 15 universities, not only from our city in Cali, which is a big city, 2.5 million, but we have universities from other regions of Colombia. So we are getting bigger and bigger every time. Next, please. And with this other bird from our Cali region, I want to thank you. It was a privilege for me speaking to you and sharing this experience. This experience, I have to say, is due to all the universities in Cali that we have come together and we are working together. And also this is due to Iscn, Melissa, Julie, Hector, and Jose, and also with the help of Victoria that have inspired us to build this network. Thank you very much. I hand the meeting now to Leticia.
Yes, thank you. Well, I think we have, thank you, Emilio. Very nice and very promising indeed. So, so I think now it's time for questions and answers. And we open the floor to the public, and thank you very much for being here with us. So the questions, you can pose the questions in the chat, but I have to confess that I don't know how to open the questions in the past, sorry. Alexandra, if you could help me.
Yes, I can speak and read out the question, and I'll go with you right now. So there is a question in the chat that says, what have been the greatest benefits of your universities from being part of this network?
So I think this is a question open to the different participants, to Emilio, Denise, Jose, Hector, and
I think I can start.
Yes, please.
I had the first contact with Iscn, helping to organize the Iscn 2019. It was a bit of a shock for me because Victoria will remember I was on vacation at UBC. Actually, I was a visiting professor there, and I went back to visit friends. And then they said that I had to help with the organization. So I went to see Victoria at UBC. And then was when I was introduced to Iscn, formally introduced to Iscn. In the beginning, I had the same doubt, the same, what Iscn will bring to university that is good. So it was, for me, it was very intense because of the conference and all the work. So I have everything together at the same time, and hurrying. And by the end of the conference, I was confident that it was very important for the university and several other universities to join, most because of the inspiration and collaboration that Melissa and Emilio talked about. And on the next conference, it was online. It was not like the ideal setup for a conference. Also, I've learned a lot during the conference, and I can bring that experience to the environmental office of the university and help make plans for the university. You know, you make your view broader with other universities' experiences. So that was a very good question. It's one that I faced starting like in my very beginning at the environmental office. So I'm really happy to answer them.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Quería...
What about you? I mean, what you have gotten from being part of the ICCN? O sea, ¿cuáles han sido los beneficios para la universidad de participar en la red?
Hola, sí, me permiten, bueno, hablar español. Mira, uno de los beneficios más grandes que tenemos de pertenecer a esta red creo que es el intercambio de conocimiento con universidades que están logrando mucho en el mundo, ¿no? Creo que uno de los retos más grandes que tenemos como universidades es transmitir lo que hacemos dentro de la universidad y ver cómo ayudamos a nuestra sociedad. La red nos ha permitido ver las realidades de otros países y otras universidades que son en algunos casos similares a las que tenemos nosotros en nuestra región. Esto ayuda a que compartir primero nuestra problemática y luego ver la forma de solucionarlas, en algunos casos con pocos recursos, en otros casos con ayudas que podrían venir a desarrollar algún proyecto que podríamos desarrollar dentro de la universidad y hacia la ciudad, ¿no? Creo que el aporte que tiene la red es básicamente eso, el intercambio de experiencias, el tema que dice Denise, de inspirar a otras universidades en seguir el camino de ser sostenible, y creo que de alguna manera es lo que actualmente la sociedad nos está pidiendo como universidades, ¿no?
Emilio o Héctor, no sé.
Yes. Good question. What are the benefits? Where we are a new network, so we have to go along and then show results. But the benefits are to get together and to work together. And for example, if, as I explained in our network in Cali, that is a real benefit of being part of Iscn and of the effort to build a Latin American chapter. So our network that has now about 25 meetings and that we are working together is due to this network. One, and the challenges which somebody posted, I think Alan Garat, as the challenges. I think the challenges are to be heard by the universities in the region, get close to them, invite them, and what we are going to do the rest of the year is to do 3 seminars in which with the conferences and with dialogue, we can increase the participation of universities in the network. And also we could start thinking about doing a regional conference maybe next year, that we can get together Latin Americans and speak of our problems, of our situations, like Leticia showed her in her first presentation. She made a very good presentation about the needs and the situations in Latin America. For example, the problem of equality and the problem of development that has stopped now. In Colombia, we are having many problems with the hunger and with the income of people because of the pandemic. So we have to get together and think about the environment, but of social things. We cannot separate them. It's a very, very big mistake to have very clean and neat campuses, and that we don't increase social equality either in the campus or in the region where the universities are. So that's our challenge in Latin America. Thank you.
Thank you indeed, Emilio. I mean, I don't know if Denise or Hector want to add, or Jose, something about the campuses. And sorry, I couldn't translate all the things that Jose told in his reflection. I mean, basically, he thought that the main benefit was its experience sharing and problem sharing and learning from others and discussing our problems, which are many, as you've heard, in the region, but I think there are problems everywhere, and to share them with others. And sorry if I'm not making a good translation. So, I mean, I would add on the challenges, and we have another couple of very important questions. I believe it's how can students be involved in the network? And I think this is a very relevant question. And what if the university of the people who are listening to us, it's not already a member of the Iscn? And let me tell you, by the way, that we are very enthusiastic to launch a campaign to increase the Latin American, I mean, we want it to be a very strong campaign to increase the Latin American membership. And in order to do that effectively, I mean, we need to find ways to make sense to provide our members. So you will soon listen to us as Latam chapter, aiming to increase and become even more relevant. Thank you. And Denise and Hector, I mean, I would like to have your reflections on challenges and students, also Emilio or Jose. And Melissa, please.
I believe, I don't think I know the answer about the students.
No.
But what I like, when at the Iscn 2019, we had a few students involved in the conference, and they really liked to participate and have the chance to go to the seminars and everything. What I think is that Iscn is or actually wants to have more students engaged at the conferences. So maybe this is a beginning, but actually what I see is for institutions, not for individuals. Like the idea of Iscn at the beginning. I'm not sure how it's going to play, but I do know that the students are important, maybe through the universities, like through the environmental office and some specific projects, they could participate. So I have no idea if that's right or not, just like a feeling.
Emilio and Melissa.
Thank you, Leticia. For the moment, we are going to have this network free of charge. We want thank you to Victoria. She said you can go on working, and when we do these meetings, it's going to be free of charge, which is a good idea. And the other thing I want to say is that the students are welcome. Those days when teachers, we professors didn't get mixed with students because we wanted to have meetings of high quality are over. We are now in a world where we can share with our students and we can hear from their opinions in our meetings. So if they are welcome, and we have to think about the possibilities of increasing the number of students in our Latin chapter. We have a lot of work to do, but we are going to do it with the ideas of the universities in the region. That's the main purpose of the network.
Melissa.
So I think Denise made an important point, which was originally the International Sustainable Campus Network was for the people, the faculty, and for the staff who are creating sort of the institutional culture. Those of us who are paid to do this, and those of us who are paid to do this on a day-to-day basis, we're grounded in reality, we're grounded in budgets, we're grounded in responsibility to the institution. And the students have a much more, they have a much different, they're more energetic, they're next generation, they're breaking stuff, they should challenge us. And so it's a different energy. And I think that there's a need, and I got into a little bit of trouble in 2016 for saying this at an Iscn conference, but there's a conference, it's like, when it's just us, the decision makers, the staff, the faculty, it's like a romantic dinner. And then when the students are added to the table, it's like a family dinner. So it's a bigger, louder, more dynamic affair. So I feel like that there's two really extraordinary things that have to happen and to connect to one another. The other thing is, reflecting on what Emilio just said too, I think that there's what we did in 2018 when we went to Stockholm is that we had a bunch of, we ran a half-day program on the Sustainable Development Goals, and we had students working on materials going into that event, and then we had them taking notes during the event, and then we had them write a report about their experiences at the event. And that was really meaningful for them, especially because we ensured that we had distribution. So we had a student, it was only 4 students because it was for a program I was running, but we had a student from Asia, we had a student from Africa, we had a student from Europe, and we had a student from the United States. And for them to create that relationship through that shared work was really extraordinary. So one of the things that I think that we should consider is whether there's an opportunity here for the various sustainability offices on this particular call to find a student to represent them in a student-related group that runs so a little bit in parallel to this, where they can pose questions to each other, like Emilio is doing with his peers in Cali. I think that there's an opportunity for these students to talk to each other about the waste challenges and how they're being managed, or the equity challenges and how they're being managed, biodiversity, water, you name it. So I think that there's, and the energy, it's really, when those of us who have to do these jobs every single day, we're very lucky to do these jobs every single day, but we're very used to hearing the word no and trying to have to work around the word no, whereas the students have a lot more energy around the word no. So I think that there's a really, really amazing opportunity there.
Thank you, Melissa. José, you wanted to add something. Querías añadir algo, José.
Okay. Gracias, Leticia, por ayudarme con la traducción. Sí, yo creo que es grandioso la participación de los estudiantes. Es más, las iniciativas salen de ellos, como bien dice Melissa y Denise y Emilio, nos retan constantemente en los proyectos que ellos tienen. Es grandioso que estas iniciativas los estudiantes los puedan trasladar a otro lado. Yo creo que la realidad que tenemos dentro de todas las universidades, hay un espacio, debe haber un espacio en el cual alguien está haciendo sostenibilidad. Entonces, yo diría que busquen a esa persona que actualmente está haciendo a la universidad, que de repente todavía no está en la red, pero ya lo está haciendo. Entonces, y a través de ellos, de repente canalizarlos a esta red. igualmente estamos abiertos a cualquier iniciativa que de donde venga estén proponiendo algo, ¿no? Creo que es lo más grandioso, que todo el mundo genere información para ayudarnos entre todos, ¿no?
Perfecto. And Hector, would you like to add something?
Can you hear me now? I think you didn't hear me before. Can you hear me now? No? Let me try one more time. Now, can you hear me? Yes? Thank you. Well, the last thing that I'd like to add is the students are the future. They are the leaders of what is going to happen with the world. So the more deep they go into sustainability in their university, they can shape their mind. And everything is up to them. As much as we can give them to deploy in the future, as many tools and skills, it will be the better. They need to learn sustainability at the university and take it out for a better future. That's what I like to say.
Thank you very, very much, Hector. I mean, we don't have at the moment more questions, but I would like to add one to the five of you, and that it's which should be our next priorities as a network. I mean, how do you envision, or wait, how should we proceed? Which are your projects, proposals, and so on? And I know you have many. Emilio, you had your hand raised.
Two things that I want to say. Good question, but I think we should ask that question to the network in our next meeting, so that we can, for example, a quick survey that we can define priorities. A second thing I want to share you is that yesterday, in the meeting of yesterday, there was a professor from Universidad Politécnica de Madrid, Julio Lumbreras. It was very interesting, and he showed an experience of how his university had worked with the Madrid city in some projects. So yesterday in our meeting that was after that conference, I talked to our network and said, why don't we do a project, all the universities together with the city, paid by the city. And here is the idea, Hector, thinking about LEED and the LEED rating system for cities, which is a very inspiring idea. And we worked with Hector and with Jose last year or a couple of 2 years about that idea. So we are going to try to put a project with the network and with the universities to offer it to the city to think about sustainability for Cali. Thank you.
Melissa.
So I'll go in a similar but different direction from Emilio. You know, thinking about the birds that you see in Emilio's presentation, and then the nature preserves that you see in Denise's presentation, and then Leticia, what you've mentioned as well in terms of the natural resource endowments of the region and how particular they are, and the reality that the primary driver of climate emissions is deforestation in Latin America. I actually, as much as I work on climate change, and as important as I think climate change is, we're also at a biodiversity crisis. And I think that there is a unique and extraordinary opportunity for the Latin American universities to really preserve and really think about their role in preserving that natural resource endowment and making a mark in the world, because the assets that exist in that region are so extraordinary and so unique, and we are so close to a tipping point, particularly in Brazil, but also in the rest of the region as well. I think it's pretty important that be a part of the narrative there, in addition to climate action, because the climate action part is partly about of course, about mitigation, but also the vulnerability of populations needs to be addressed, especially in coastal communities. So I would never try to overshadow that. But I do think that there's a very positive and proactive way that this network could shape in that direction.
You're very right. Thank you very much. We have Victoria, a question from Victoria Smith, who, the global coordinator of the Iscn, who's asking if anybody in the audience or any of the presenters are going to be to attend the COP conference in Cairo this year.
I am.
Yep, Melissa. So Melissa is going. Cairo is far away from Latin America, but it's nevertheless it's very important. So I think what you say, Melissa, gives us an important topic, at least for the workshops on joint projects among universities of the Latam chapter. Of course, biodiversity, it's a key issue, and drivers of biodiversity loss within the region. It's something that should be or could be a theme of reflection and hopefully action. We have other questions. We have a question saying that, have you witnessed any changes in prioritizing the environment and sustainability in a region that needs to deal with so many pressing issues? It's from Carla Terroba. Is our environmental and sustainability issues given more priority, considering the many urgencies and problems and needs faced in the region, particularly in the post-pandemic and the pandemic context? And it's to be said that Latin America was one of the world regions, I don't know if the world region, but one of the world regions, most severely hit by the pandemic. So are environmental issues given more priority, or an increasing priority? For Mexico, answer for Mexico, it's sad to say that it has, with the current political situation, it's given less and less and less attention. And well, I believe that universities and civil society have a big role in giving weight and importance to these issues, to environmental issues. But in terms of political attention, in Mexico at least, I would say this is not happening. I don't know if Emilio, Melissa, Hector, Jose, Denise have something to add to this question.
Well, I'll try not to talk very much about politics, because Brazil is, So I think in Brazil, everybody knows how that is, but hopefully we will be in a different situation next year with the federal president elections. Let's see. But what I was going to talk about this question is that I have different appointments at the university, and one of them is to represent the university at a few committees related to like sustainability or the 2030 agenda for the city of São Paulo. So I saw that it's happening in the state of São Paulo, a little bit a difference of focus and worried more about the environment. And the the society is participating of these committees. So what I felt with the public policies, that the society have more voice, or have voice right now regarding to the environment, and hopefully that would be enough of a change. I'm not sure.
Emilio, Jose, Hector. Do you think the environment is given more attention in different arenas, public and social? Emilio.
Yes, I wanted to say that at the end of last year, I did a survey with the universities at that part of the network, 17 universities, and I asked them to prioritize actions in the environment. And the first one was biodiversity. The second was air quality. And the third one was waste. Yes. But when I asked them what kind of project should we build so that we can do an experience with the exterior of our universities, they said get together with the community and work together in building projects and actions with the community. Those are the words of the universities that are in a network, community. And that's something very, very important, I think. I work here in Cali in the university, but as my friends know, I work also with a community organization in an area of Cali. So I am in both sides, in the university and in the community. And it's very difficult to work with this idea of governance, how to work together with the government. The government is very difficult, Denise. It's very difficult to work with the government and with the politicians that they want to work with the community and with universities. So that's one of the most difficult things we have to face. That's a challenge. How from the universities we can get together with the public sector, the state or the public sector, sorry, the private sector and the community. So I wanted to share that experience and told you those are the priorities that we set. And of course, we have to work with the politicians and the universities have a great responsibility to show the results of research of what's happening in the environment to the public to the mass media so that politicians pay attention to us. We have to work with the mass media and in communications. That's very important.
Well, I think that's another very important areas where we should learn experiences and share and learn from each other, because the political and social context is different in different countries, but we share many commonalities in Latin America. So the work with the media, the work with governments of different scales, I think experience sharing would be very meaningful. And certainly other universities will have many things to teach us. Jose, and I would like to wrap up. I think we are going very nicely towards the end of the meeting. So thank you very much to all of us. And if you want to add something, I will ask you to give a remark of 1 minute to close this very important, well, initial for me experience. And thank you for the Iscn to give us this floor. Jose, you have your hand raised.
Okay. Sí, solamente poner un ejemplo, la universidad hace muchos proyectos de impacto social. Como ustedes saben, somos parte de los Andes y hay mucho frío en la serranía peruana. Entonces, acá hay un proyecto de hace mucho tiempo en el cual contribuye a mejorar las condiciones climáticas o ambientales que tiene el poblador del Ande, ¿no? Entonces, si de alguna manera impactamos enormemente, muy a pesar de las políticas del país, ¿no?
Jose is saying that the university has an ongoing project with Andean communities who suffer from the cold, and despite the changes of governmental policies, I mean, the university, it's working and trying to help these communities. Muchas gracias, Jose. Héctor, Melissa, Denise. I mean, would you like to add something? No?
I would like to add something very quick.
There you go, my dear Emilio.
Half a minute. In Colombia, we started to discuss the law for one-time plastics. It couldn't pass because the private sector got against that law. So that's where universities have to come and explain to the mass media that now the impact of plastics are horrible. I've heard something from The Guardian, a newspaper, which is very interesting, about tires, transportation vehicles, and how the tires get together to be pollution, plastic pollution in the air. 1,800 times as thought before. So pollution from tires in the air is something very, very, very grave. So we have to take together that aspect, and that's where universities have to come to the mass medium, give information, and then ask the politicians, why are you not taking into account the results of research?
Melissa.
So I think that the thing that I'm most excited about, which is why my tongue gets tied, is just seeing the energy and enthusiasm and the thoughtfulness that this group has, and the potential to make a huge difference in the world, and to every student who comes through your universities, to every researcher who's doing research on your universities. And I love this idea, Emilio referencing plastic, it's World Oceans Day. So thinking about, because when there's a lot of plastic that gets used on a college campus, but also in communities for very necessary reasons, and thinking about A, the research piece of it and how we can fix that problem, but B, the day-to-day piece of it and how we can fix that problem. I feel like this group, as you envision the future for the ISCN Latin American chapter, I'd love to see a set of priorities that reflect on biodiversity and plastics and air and water pollution, so that it captures the mining and also captures the plastic. Really sort of thinking through, not a huge document, but something like a Green New Deal for Latin America that could be led by your institutions, and really sort of bring it to the fore, so that there's and put human health at the center of it, because Jose mentioned this as well, but putting human health at the center of it too, so that every single rector will see it and say, wow, I really have to do this for the health and well-being of today's students and tomorrow's leaders. I would love to see that document and to help support any activity to get there.
Well, that's very inspiring, and it's a big responsibility and a lot of work to do. And well, I would like to thank you, Melissa, thank you, Emilio, thank you, Hector and Jose, and of course, Denise. Thank you very much, as well as Victoria, who has been a big support and a big inspiration for this group. I think we owe her a lot, and I am true when I say that. And also thank you very much, Simone and Alexa, for supporting us. And I give the voice to Simone to close this session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Leticia. Well, I think we are right now at the end of this really stimulating session, I think. So let me thank every panelist and all the attendees, since the panel and the Q&A session were very enriching. Before closing the recording, let me quickly remind you how we'll show the activities of the ISCN Latin American chapter, and especially how you can reach out to us and connect and spread the word about this initiative. So please visit the main ISCN website, from where we will announce soon more details on the Latin American chapter's upcoming website. And there will be included some follow-ups, including, I guess, this session. So to stay informed, we also encourage you to subscribe to the ISCN newsletter, and the chapter will also communicate through the address info@iscn-latam.org, so you can whitelist that address. And finally, In the following weeks, we will announce how to register for several workshops organized by the institutional members of the network in Latin America. I think we already have one confirmed by Tecnológico de Monterrey and Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México on integrated waste management and cultural strategies of, and cultural strategies for the campuses. So I thank you all. It's all for now. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.